This little sketch has been sitting in my notebook for a long time. Let me show you what happens when I actually make it and put it together. Let's start right now. To make this project, I am using a partial black jelly roll. I got this from Connecting Threads. It's Color Wheel Solids. It's black, 40 pieces. And then I'm using my white jelly roll, my Kona Solids white color story, also 40 pieces. I know I will not use all of these for my quilt, but they are cut at 2.5-inch strips, which is what I need, so that's going to make it easy. These will be my background fabrics. My focus fabrics will be these 5 fat quarters that I just found in my stash. I don't remember where I got them, but they're bright and colorful. And so I'll be using this as my focus fabric. I'll be cutting this into 2.5-inch squares. And again, I probably will not use all of them because you can get a lot of 2.5-inch squares out of a fat quarter. But let's start the first step. So I've cut some 2.5-inch squares from both my light and dark. We will need 2 lights and 2 darks. We'll save these for other blocks. So we'll need these. The other thing we'll need is some half square triangles. So I'm going to lay a dark and a light on top of each other, and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch down each side to get my 2.5-inch half square triangles. Notice how you see the white sticking out. This is an example of differences in paint edges. Obviously, these 2 jelly rolls come from 2 different manufacturers, so they are cut a little differently, but I'm going to make do and sew these together. I will be right back. So I've got my strips sewn together here. Move these out of the way. I've sewn down both sides of the strip, and then I'm just going to take my strip tube ruler. If you don't have a strip tube ruler, this is a strip tube junior, but if you don't have a regular strip tube ruler or a strip tube junior, I will show you how to cut these without one. But you just are going to put the 2.5-inch line right on the sewn line, not on the edge, but on the line that you've sewn, and you are just going to cut like so. And then if you're more comfortable turning it around, you can turn it around. Safety first, right? Put that 2.5-inch line on there, just like that. And then when you open that up, you will get a nice 2.5-inch half square triangle. And then all you have to do is snip off the dog ears like this and like this. And then of course you want to press it, but that is then a 2.5-inch half square triangle. So for each block, you will need 3 of these. So I'm just going to continue with my cut, put my 2.5-inch line right on there like so, and give it a nice cut, and then flip it over. And I'll have to make a new cut because of this weird edge right here, which is no problem at all. Just line it up and then cut that little baby bit off. So there I've got my 3. Let me go press these and I shall return. Now I also promised that I would show you an alternate way to cut your half square triangles out of a strip if you don't have a strip tube ruler or a 45-degree ruler. But this is just a square ruler. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for my 2.5-inch arrows here on this ruler, and I'm just going to line those up right on that sewing line, right like this. And then I'm going to cut. And that is going to give me that 2.5-inch half square triangle, just like the strip tube ruler did. So if you don't have a strip tube ruler, this is your ruler right here that you want to go to. So that is how to do that. Okay, I've got all my pieces here. I've got 3 half square triangles. I have 2 dark pieces and I have 2 light pieces. And then I have my 2 accent pieces that I cut from my fat quarter. Now, how I'm going to lay this out is I'm going to put a half square triangle. Oops. I made this little foam board from a microfiber towel and the pink foam. This thing is awesome. pieces don't fall off of it. It's like having a design wall on your table. And I can take this right over to my sewing machine. So I'm going to put my accent piece here, and then a dark piece here, and then my light piece goes here, and another half square triangle here. So your lights all come together like this, and another dark spot here. And then my other light piece goes down here, and my half square triangle here, and then my accent piece right here. So this is what the block is going to look like. And now I can just sew these together like a 9 patch. I'm going to take all these and fold them over like this, and then sew a 1/4 inch down here. And once all of those are sewn together, I'm going to take my other piece and sew it onto the end like that. So that should work out good. Let me sew these together and I'll show you what the block looks like. All right, so I've got my block sewn together, and it's very easy to sew together, but now we're going to trim it because of these weird, I don't know, just pinked edges just don't seem to be my friend. So it looks a little wonky to me. So I'm going to square it up. I'm going to square it up 6 to 6 inches. So if I look at my ruler, I'm going to put the 45-degree angle line right on this center half square triangle, and then 2 inches in, it frames this center one like a little box. So it's 2 inches from this side, 2 inches from this side. And I'm going to use that to square this up as best that I can. Trim it to 6 inches. Because not everybody is a straight sewer. Sometimes my sewing gets a little wonky as well. Flip it over and do the same thing. Now I've got my 6-inch lines to go by here, but I still want to make sure that 45-degree line is right going through the center square there. Trim this up to 6 inches. Maybe time for a blade change. There we go. So that's my cute little block. Now we're going to put 4 of these together to make a bigger block, but I think this block looks pretty cool just like that. So let me put 4 of these together and show you what it looks like. Now all the 4 I put together, I'm going to use the same accent fabric for all 4. All right, let's get moving. So I've got 4 blocks here. They all have the same accent fabric. And I want to show you that there are tons of ways that you can arrange these. I've got it on my little board here so that it's got a nice clear background. Now, I am going to arrange them so that my black forms like sort of a pinwheel in the middle. So if I take this and turn it this way, this will go up and down like this. This will go also up and down, meaning the black part there. And so it kind of forms a little pinwheel in the way that it's laid out. To me, that looks like these colors are just bursting out from the center. But you can also turn it the opposite way so that the white part is forming that little pinwheel design like so. So that gives it a whole new look there. Same idea, just opposite colors. And at the end of the video, I'll show you all the different ways that you can lay this out. I think I figured there was like, 15 or 16 different ways to lay this out. You can also go opposites like this. So just alternate your black and white. That gives it that sort of a look, completely different. But like I said, I am going to do it this way, and then I'll just sew these together like a 4-patch. And then I will have a big block to show you. But I do want to show you how I pressed these because I don't think I went over that. So when I put these together, like the original 9-patch, I pressed everything away from the half square triangles. So like on the top row, I pressed everything towards the center, and on the bottom row, I pressed everything towards the center, and in the middle row, I pressed everything away from the center. And then when I sewed the rows together, again, I pressed them away from the center. So that will help you keep things nice and neat when you go to sew your 4 blocks together. Yeah, that works out just fine. And I'm going to sew them together like this. My fingernail is catching on the microfiber. All right, so I'm going to sew these. Now you can sew them together this way, or you can mix and match them. So if I take a different one like this, I can mix and match my colors like this. And let me find another color here like this. So I can totally mix and match my colors as well. So that might be an option that you can do. But I am going to keep all of mine the same because I like the look of that. Makes it look like one big burst of the same color. So let's get these all up on the design wall and see what it looks like. All right, so I've got my block sewn together and it measures 11.5 inches square. Okay, so this is the finished quilt top. I made mine square, so I did 5 blocks across, 5 blocks up and down. Of course, you can make more blocks and make it the size you want, and the pattern will have all the different sizes that you could possibly want on here. But I am going to make it bigger because I have some ideas for the border. But just talking about the quilt top here, I am in love with it. I love the way it looks. I think it looks like these blocks here are just bursting out at you. My son said it looks like ninja stars, which I can see that. I like it. I think they're just bursting out. I have an idea though. These extra little unfinished half square triangles over here, I made an extra little set of these. And so I'm going to extend the border out here and I'm going to put these right like this. So it finishes these little pinwheels here. Not pinwheels, they're more like hourglass blocks. So I made enough of these to go around the whole quilt like this, and this will finish up those, which I think will look pretty awesome. And I'm going to do it to all around all 4 sides like this. And I'm just going to place these here, and then I can fill in these spaces with a white border. So I'm going to make it look like this. If you can see what I'm talking about, I'm just going to place these in here, and this is just going to be the first border. So I'm going to fill these in like this, and the measurements will be on there, but basically these are 8 inches long here, and that should allow for your seam allowance. And then I'm going to probably put another black border around the entire outside of this as well. So that is how I'm going to finish it, and I'll show you what that looks like when it's all sewn together. Hey, if you like quilty t-shirts, you can check out my t-shirt store. The link is in the description. There are literally hundreds and hundreds to choose from. And I don't know, sometimes it's kind of hard to pick just ones. They're really comfortable and they wash up so nice. And there's lots of styles to choose from too. You can have the female t-shirts with the v-necks. You can have male fit t-shirts. And so be sure and look at those too, like the different sizes and variations of the t-shirt, so that you get just the right style that you like. So I'm going to work on my border now. And don't forget to stay till the end, because I'm going to show you all the different ways you can lay this out. You don't have to lay it out like I did. So check that out too. Okay, so here it is in all of its glory. Now you'll notice the border is different than I originally said it was going to be. And honestly, that's because I put it together and I absolutely hated it. I thought it did not look good at all. So what I did instead was I took my remaining fat quarters that I had left over, and by the way, I'll have to clarify. I believe that in the beginning I said that I was going to use 5 fat quarters. I ended up pulling another fat quarter that I thought looked good, and so I incorporated 6 fat quarters into this quilt. But anyway, I took the remaining fat quarters, I cut them into 2-inch strips, sewed those strips together, did a little quilt math to figure out how many strips I would need to go around, and so I ended up cutting them at 2 inches, 2-inch strips, and I love this. So I started with a white border, and then I put my piano key border with my remaining fat quarters, and then I ended with a black border, and that white border and the black border are really just the leftover jelly roll strips that I used. And so I think that that little piano key border adds a pop of color, but I love this. I think it looks really cool and amazing. It kind of gives me double vision a little bit, but that's kind of what I like about it. So I am calling this bursting at the seams because these bursts just jump right out at you. I hope you enjoyed this video. The pattern will be available, so check the description. If you want to be notified when the pattern does become available, just drop me an email at revelationquilts@yahoo.com and you'll be the first to know when that pattern comes out. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. A big shout out to my members who help make this channel possible with your continued support. Thank you so much. Happy sewing, everybody. Bye.